From Sigma Woman, this is the Business for Aligned Women podcast. I'm your host, Clara McKay, your aligned business coach and advocate for all things showing up for your vision. This is a no BS space for brave-hearted women who are actually craving change. I'm dedicated to bringing women's visions into reality, equipping women with all they need to build an abundant future, and shutting down all of the ways that you keep yourself small. Here, we're all about a women-centered approach, non-negotiable value alignment, and making bank without compromising your well-being. Each week, you're already one step closer to your most aligned and abundant future. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics and something that I have been sharing about recently, and that is that trying to be the nice girl or always chasing being perceived as nice is hurting your business. We're going to talk about why, and I'm hopefully going to break that down for you so that you stop letting it limit you. And we're talking about business. This is a business podcast, but I strongly believe that this is actually limiting every single aspect of someone's life. Before we get into it, I want to invite you to a couple of free offerings that I have for you. The first one is I'm working behind the scenes on a masterclass on consistency and productivity and being able to start showing up in a consistent way. I know that that is the main problem that you feel you have, and I see that it's the main thing that if you could work it out and you could sort out being consistent, everything else would fall into place. So I'm offering a free masterclass with tips on how to become consistent. A lot of those are based in circadian science and neuroscience, and you can sign up to that masterclass via the show notes, and as soon as it's available, you will receive it and be able to watch it and access it straight away. I will be doing it as video and audio because I know not everyone wants to sit in front of a video for a while. The last thing that I want to talk about before we get into the episode is I am booking up my final spaces for September. I have a couple of spaces left for my next Aligned Business Intensive. It's the second last intensive for the year. So this is your second last opportunity to work with me in coaching one-on-one. And that will be happening in September. I have just a couple of spaces left. If you've been thinking about working with me, if you're on the fence, if you've been wanting to do it this year, you only have a handful of opportunities left. There's only a handful of spaces left for 2024, and you can book a free call with me to chat about those via the show notes as well. Let's talk about why the nice girl attitude, wanting to be seen as nice all the time, is hurting your business. Obviously, there's a lot of context around this socially and culturally, and I'm not saying anything that I'm about to say as a way to pick on anyone or put anyone down. And I am saying it as a way to get you to start looking at how society's ideas of what a woman is allowed to do or be, and you going with those ideas might be holding you back. This is not a you problem. This is a social problem, but you have the choice whether you want to keep buying into it. I've talked about this recently and I had a lot of conversations in my DMs about it. But one of the really simple top level things that I don't think people ever think about is if you're showing up trying to be very saccharine, very nice, very friendly, very fluffy all the time, what it does is it gives same energy. It gives I'm going to go on Instagram and I'm going to see 70 videos with people talking and acting in the exact same way, with the same tone of voice, because they're all in this nice girl kind of situation. So not only are you not being authentic, I'm sure some people are being authentic when they're being a nice girl, but for a lot of us, we don't feel like being really, really overtly friendly and sweet and fluffy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't think we do. And I think if you're showing up online like that, you are being inauthentic, and that means that you're not actually expressing yourself. And I strongly believe that the more you express yourself authentically, the more you're going to find the right people, and it's going to be a much more pleasurable experience for you. I know that's what's happened in my business, and it's just the feeling of having a call with someone who's very, very aligned, who's on the same page, who gets it, who's not being mired by their narratives and their stories. Oh my goodness, it's such an incredible feeling, and I really want that for you too. So when you're showing up in this nice girl attitude all the time and you're really wanting to be perceived as nice and you're putting on a tone of voice and you're putting on the things you say and you're saying things in a certain way and you're being extremely sincere and extremely earnest all the time, you just do not stick out because so many women are doing that. I was thinking about the different industries that really enforce these traditional gender roles. And I know for me, I see it a lot in naturopathy. And I was thinking about how three of the naturopaths that I have given money to in the last 5 years don't do that. They are very much themselves and a bit more direct, a bit more sure of themselves, and have a lot of conviction, and they feel okay to be different and stand out. So that's just an interesting fun fact that the people that I have decided to pay have been the ones who stood out because they've not been putting on that same archetype with that same tone of voice and the same things that they're saying and talking about. And that is the same across every single industry. The next one is that when you are doing this nice girl attitude, you're doing a lot of emotional labor and obviously a lot of repressing yourself in order to get there. And you're probably doing a lot of work, even if it's unconsciously, to hide what's actually going on for you. And that is very, very draining. And it's a really quick way to remove your power. And I have seen it's very, very common that if someone has made being nice their entire identity or their entire personality, I would honestly say they're some of the most dangerous people to be around. I don't want to be anywhere near them because I have experienced them so many times absolutely exploding and losing their shit because they have no boundaries. They never stand up for their own needs. They're always people pleasing. And that means they're on edge all the time and they're getting towards burnout and they're simmering on things, but they're never communicating it. And then they're just going to explode. And when they do explode, it's very dysregulating for the people around them because there's been no communication other than that they're so nice and they're so friendly and they're so open. And that means that the people around them are like, what the is going on? Fun fact, that's actually textbook psychology. So this isn't my experience. This is a psychological phenomenon that occurs, and it's a technique called eruption, and it generally comes from people who don't have healthy boundaries, and it's actually an avoidance technique for being held accountable. So interesting. Learning that about psychology this year has really changed the game for me. And the weird thing about this eruption technique is that if you're being the nice girl and you're people pleasing and you don't have any boundaries, the reason you're doing that is because you want to be perceived as nice. But when you do that and it ends up in eruption, people see the opposite of nice. People see you as unhinged. People see you as angry and violent and lacking self-awareness and lacking self-regulation. So the technique itself of being nice usually gets you the opposite result because you can't possibly repress and suppress your feelings for that long. So when you stop doing this nice girl stuff, you'll actually find that you have a lot more energy and a lot more resources, and you're able to be a lot more productive and a lot more consistent. Okay, so if you're feeling like, oh, maybe I don't really have very good boundaries, I know I'm not good at communicating them, I do tend to blow up at people because I haven't communicated, or being nice is a big value of mine, and you also struggle with consistency, there's probably a link there that you need to look at. And the last one is this boundaries piece. I know I've said it before, I'll shout it from the rooftop, I'll continue saying it. Boundaries and strong ones, well-communicated ones, and enforced boundaries are absolutely a necessity for growing a business. You will not grow if you don't have boundaries. You will not complete and you will not follow through because you need boundaries in order to be able to focus. in order to be able to direct your energy, and in order to be able to feel good mentally and physically. Those are three big reasons why going into nice girl is hurting your business and why dropping it will be really, really supportive of you. I am all here for women who are standing in their power, who are not bending over backwards for other people, who know their worth, know their value, know what they need in order to feel good and show up for themselves, and who actually stand up for that. So that's who I'm about. And if you crave to be a bit more like that, then you're definitely in the right place. If you can't tell, getting to share this time with you is something that I find truly sacred. I know that you're busy, but if you've taken anything away from our time spent together today, could you extend the love and share this episode with a friend, your community, or on your socials? Tag me so that I can see it and I can share it too. Or when you have a spare moment, leave the podcast a review. These things cost you nothing and will mean so much to me. Let's get this resource into the hands of more women visionaries and help us collectively move towards our most aligned way of being and doing business together.